All right, everybody, welcome back to PittsburghSportsReport.com and EllisCannon.com. I'm your host, as always, Ellis Cannon. How do you like that? And we're coming at you, as always, from the NFL Media Center at the Dallas Sheraton in downtown Dallas. Snowy Dallas, but, well, forget about the weather for a moment. A guy with a disposition we always enjoy. George VonBenko, outstanding, long-time and veteran radio and television guy in Pittsburgh, joining us here to talk a little bit about the game. George, first of all, I want to personally thank you for making the trip. I know that the 3 inches of snow would not do this to Pittsburgh, but it's paralyzed Dallas, and you came quite a distance to be here today.
Well, actually, where I was in Plano, they got 6 inches.
Oh, wow.
So it was even worse toward the north. It really wasn't that bad, except, some of the traffic. We've talked about it before. These people have no idea how to drive in the ice and snow.
No, they don't. And I tell you what, I had Brian Mitchell on. Of course, you remember him, former NFL great. He was pretty honked off about having games in venues like this. Yeah, it's a beautiful stadium, but so much surrounds this event the week or two beforehand that literally never got off the ground despite years of anticipation and planning. You've been to, what, 10 Super Bowls now?
10, yeah.
I mean, have you ever seen anything quite like this? I mean, I know Atlanta had it back in the day, and they had some bad weather at the end of the week, but, I mean, this is ridiculous.
Without a doubt, the worst experience I've had at a Super Bowl ever. It really is. We can't. I mean, and I watched a news story on Dallas television today, and the businesses in the community are really crying the blues because they stocked up with extra stuff for the Super Bowl, and nobody's going out to eat. We were in one of the best Italian restaurants in the city last night, Bill DeFabio and I.
Sure.
There were 6 people in there.
Six people working on every table, or 6 customers?
Well, it might have been 6 people on there. There were 6 customers and like 18 staff.
Right.
You know, I mean, every time I laid a fork down, they were giving me a new one, you know.
Well, George, let's talk about the game. I mean, the other day, I guess this reality star, The Situation, made his way through here. Adam Sandler right over our shoulder there by the blue screen a few minutes ago. It's like the King of England comes in with these people and all their followers and people. You don't have people. You're just a basic great guy.
I don't have an entourage.
Right, okay. Not yet anyways. Let's talk about this game. Let's talk about this game, man. What are you thinking?
Well, I wrote for the Herald Standard because they asked for, that's a Uniontown newspaper, Mike Cherokee, our good friend, asked for predictions, and I do a column for the Herald Standard. And I thought it was interesting, and EA Sports puts out the Madden game. And they ran simulations. And Madden football, over the years, has been pretty good at picking who the winner of the game is going to be when they do their simulations. Well, that simulation and 4 or 5 other simulations I saw with computers all had the Steelers winning by a narrow margin. Well, who am I to disagree?
No,
I like the Steelers to begin with, and so I'm picking the Steelers 24-20.
There we go, and that, I believe, is the number put on it by Madden. So, you know, you're a high-tech guy. You're big into the emerging new media, so it only makes sense.
Crystal set. What are you talking about?
All right, let's break it down. The Steelers are going to run the ball. They run the ball, I think, a little bit more than people think, but on the other hand, not as much as they used to, and let me explain that. The perception has changed because the percentages have changed. They're up to 55% of the time when Ben's at quarterback this year throwing the ball. That doesn't mean they don't run the ball. It's just that the perception is that they're now a passing team more, and to a certain extent they are. But I think tomorrow, or should I say Sunday, they're going to establish the run.
I agree with you, and that comes straight from the horse's mouth because a conversation I had with Bruce Arians yesterday at Steelers Media Day, we got into that, and he says, we want to run the football. We want to take the same approach that we took against the Packers that we took against the New York Jets. And you saw what they did to the Jets, where Shard Mendenhall looked like he was running downhill all game long against the Jets, particularly in that first half. So I think that they – and conversely, I was talking with Tommy Clemens, the old Bishop Canavan star, who's the quarterback coach for the Packers, and, Starks has run the ball very well for them, and it would be in their best interest to have a running game as well. But I think they're going to have more problems running the ball against the Steeler defense than the Steelers are going to have running the ball against the Packers defense.
I think that's a very good point. And just to go back to that Jets game, the Steelers had 135 rushing in the first half, broke a lot of tackles. The Jets looked flat defensively, twice as many rush attempts than pass by the time the game was over, and ultimately Richard 27 totes, 121 and a touch. You and I watched a lot of that game together. Ben Roethlisberger is somebody that if the game is on the line, and even if he's not had sterling numbers, is the type of guy that can and does win games. You've watched a lot of Steeler quarterbacks. Throw out the off-the-field stuff for a moment. What are your thoughts with what you see on the field?
I think he's just a tremendous quarterback, and I'm so glad. You don't know for sure whether he has actually completely cleaned his act up, but I have some friends of mine who are actually good friends of Ben, so I get some other reports, and he has really made a conscientious effort, according to these people, to clean up the off-the-field stuff, and that can only help him in the future because the city of Pittsburgh wants to embrace Big Ben.
Right.
There's no question. A lot of people were disappointed about that, but his on the field, there's only been a couple of times that he has really disappointed me. Most of the time when he comes to play and he brings his A game. He has not played well in Super Bowls.
Right.
I think what in Detroit it was his 32% was his quarterback rating in Detroit. That being said, I think with everything that has happened with him and the fact that he wants to get back in the good graces of everybody, he is primed to put on a great performance in this game. And I think you're going to see. And the X factor, and in fact, Darren Perry, the former safety for the Steelers, who's the secondary coach for the Packers, told me that the Packers defense considers Roethlisberger's escapability, his improvisational skills, as the X factor in this game.
Well, that's a great point, and Perry knows he played and coached, as you point out, in Pittsburgh. Let's get to one other area. That'd be the defense and Dick LeBeau. Two things we've all heard all week long. We've all asked questions about that passing game and that offense. Dick LeBeau told me that he doesn't believe that it'll be as easy as people think to make them one-dimensional. I think he's being humble there. I think they will. On the other hand, he says if Green Bay has to go one-dimensional, they're more than comfortable with that. Now, that's what he told me. However, he's a longtime close friend with you, and he closes every Super Bowl media day with 5 minutes with George VonBenko one-on-one. Yes. Tell us some of his thoughts, and particularly as they relate to controlling the Green Bay offense.
Well, the prevailing feeling here amongst the media is that Green Bay is going to look at the New Orleans tape and the New England tape, and they're going to spread the field, and they've got enough receivers to do that, to put extra receivers in there. That, of course, changes things for the Steelers because they're going to have to go nickel package or dime package, which removes a linebacker, which is their strength, from the equation, one linebacker. I asked LeBeau, is too much being made of this spreading the field and what happened in the New England game, what happened in the New Orleans game? You obviously have faced this type of offense before. Is too much being made of this? One-word answer, yes. Yes. Yeah. And he said, we faced it before. We know what we want to do. And James Farrier said it best to me. He told me, in Dick LeBeau, we trust. He will find a scheme or a way to turn things around for Pittsburgh and win this ball game. The defense has complete faith in him. So do I.
I don't blame you. All right, George, again, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for making the effort. Thanks for all your contributions to Pittsburgh Sports Report. We've got a copy we want you to sign. Everybody who's been on board is signed. And thanks again for your insight. We look forward to watching the game with you on Sunday.
Thanks a lot, Ellis.
All right, George VonBenko, always a good buddy. Does a great job, and a pleasure to have him aboard.